Welcome to Mac and Bleu, the cutting-edge podcast for the nation's builders, merging the realms of construction with exciting advancements in technology. Join us on a thrilling journey where we delve into the dynamic world of blockchain, AI, the metaverse, virtual and augmented reality, and their transformative impact on the industry. Our engaging discussions span a wide spectrum, covering not only construction, economic development, supply chain, and market segments, but also exploring the vibrant tapestry of diversity within the construction landscape. We shed light on the intersection of local politics and its profound influence on the construction sector, while championing the remarkable contributions of women and minorities in construction. For all things Mac and Bleu, head to www.macandbleu.com, and don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. I'm your host, JJ Levinsky. Now let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Mac and Bleu. I'm your host, JJ Levinsky, CEO and co-founder of Blue Wave General Contracting. I can't believe it. I've got two attorneys on today.
And neither one of us are serving you with papers.
Yeah, and I don't have ankle bracelets on or anything. Jason Morris and Adam Baugh, thank you. They are partners with Withey Morris Baugh, and I did ask them before we got on. I'm like, who the hell's this Withey guy? So he's the smart guy that's kind of semi-retired and original partners with Jason. Welcome, gentlemen.
Our pleasure. We just conned you into this. We're actually not attorneys at all.
Yes, exactly. I don't know if you checked any of our credentials, but
no, just I did, obviously.
Introducing us as attorneys, that's fine.
I feel smart already.
Right. Sometimes we say doctor, sometimes we say lawyer, but yes, we're both lawyers in the traditional sense.
We've convinced enough people that we are, and somehow we collect bills that way, so it all works out.
But you're here because primarily, when we set Mac and Bleu up, it was primarily into construction-related activities. We've hence kind of retagged it Building the Future, but you guys are land use and kind of entitlement guys, right?
Absolutely. It's our job. It's our job to set the stage so that everybody else can build.
All right, I think our tagline was "Building Arizona," and then he had to change it.
Yeah, exactly. We may be able to get it back.
All right, I'll give you your royalties back. Here, I think I got $1. Sean, can you spot me five? Cover the interest for these guys.
We're your friend at City Hall while you're building Arizona. There you go.
All right. Before we get into, we should do a little background. Who wants to go first?
I'll do it. I'm older, way older. So
give us a Reader's Digest version of the resume, but more just the connectivity of it.
I wanted to start at birth, but okay. All right. The short story is when I went to law school, first of all, nobody in my family was a lawyer. Nobody knew about the law. Everything I knew about the law involved
You were on the other side of it?
No, watching TV. It was LA law. Okay. It was any Matlock, whatever was there. So I came out and got a job with a law firm, and one of their lawyers was, in fact, a zoning lawyer, zoning and land use.
And you probably never even knew what the hell it was.
Didn't know that there was a guy around doing it, or a woman. And so this attorney took me under his wing. Of all the lawyers I worked with, I realized this is a great gig. It's part lobbying. There's a lot of politics involved. I get to see what actually gets built. I'm not just pushing paper. I'm not doing legal research every day, and fell in love with this. So was fortunate to then move on to another larger firm that did a tremendous amount of this work in the Valley, and became partner there. Met Mike Withey, who was partner at another large firm also doing this. And Mike gave me the greatest invitation to do this ever. He said, you and I can be lieutenants on these aircraft carriers for the rest of our lives, or we can go captain our own small ship. So that's...
Every time he tells that story, though, it's a little different. Once it was a Commodore.
Yeah, different rank.
The other time
Admiral.
Yes.
At the local yacht club on a 50-acre lake.
So that was
Lieutenant Dan.
24 years ago. And we've had good fortune and success since then. And during that time, ran across an intern in the mayor's office who was going to law school and was the sharpest person that we had seen, who also stalked us. And as a result...
That was Adam.
That was me. Yeah. Somehow I conned my way into a job here. But at the end of the day, I didn't know what a zoning attorney was. I worked for the mayor's office. I see these guys come in and kind of tell their story.
These guys.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I barely knew they were attorneys.
He was easily impressed. These were good suits.
But I mean, it's not a type of law that you learn about.
Right.
There was a class at the law school, but I hadn't taken it yet. As far as I was concerned, they were just very charismatic people, and what you could see was the way they could tell a story and convince what seemingly seemed an impossible case, and turn 4, 5, 7, 9 council members into a yes. And I didn't know what that was, but whatever it was, I wanted to do it. And so I had a chance to work there and some other places. while I was in law school to kind of get a better sense. And then basically twist their arm, beg, pleaded, and took some pictures of them that I hold in my pocket in case I ever need them. Somehow got a job.
This is the best extortion story ever.
So,
He's good at what he does.
what's this BS about you working for free?
So at the time, I had a job working for an immigration firm in Central Phoenix called Bacon and Deer.
Okay.
And all of our clients are international. And so I would go in the office at 6 a.m. and leave around 2 or 3. But I wanted to do this. I wanted to be what these guys were. They were like.
Was there any kind of restraining order on you at that time?
No, not yet. I've got it resolved since then. But I just said, look, whatever it takes, I want to work here. And they were kind enough said, why don't we just pay you like about the hour for a little bit of research here and there. I just figured if I could just show them my product, we would be great friends. And they just had mercy on me and eventually gave me a chance to work with them long term. And since then, I've been able to rise up in the ranks. And now Jason and I are partners in the firm, and we get to control our own destiny. And I think create the kind of environment and workplace and successes that we wanted as young associates. And now we give that to the rest of our team and to our clients.
I love it. So that was our soft intro. Now let's go to the second part of the soft intro.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to know a little bit about you guys personally. So if you don't mind, talk a little bit. Let's stay with you, Adam.
Yeah.
Family, friends, and I'm dying to talk to you about your endurance racing because I think it's all a bunch of crap that you put down on paper. But
if you put it down, people will believe it. So
well, now you've got my guards up after what Jason said. So but yeah, please share.
Yeah, I grew up in an Air Force family, so we lived in a lot of places. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Guam was my favorite place to live, but our family ended up settling in California. So from there to about high school, I grew up and had a great time. I always figured I'd be back in Southern California, and I went to college in Utah, met my bride, and she was from Huntington Beach. It was the perfect match for us. Arizona was supposed to be a short stop, and I moved here in the summer, July of 2003. It was 20 years ago, actually. This might even be this very day. Pulled into the garage, 101 degrees at 1 a.m. I just remember thinking, this is ridiculous. How does anybody live here? And Kim said to me, it's okay, it's just 3 years, and then we're out of here. So the idea of living in San Clemente or San Juan Capistrano was still hard on the mind. And then you had one kid, and then you had a second, and third, and now I have 5, and you raise a family, and you realize that where they're happiest.
4 more, and you got a team. You know,
yeah,
you might as well just go for the trifecta.
I've got a hockey team or an NBA team, depending on which one you play. But you raise 5 kids, and all of a sudden, what matters is their happiness. And so we've loved it here. It's been a great place for our family.
Good.
And I think since then, we just try to do good stuff and contribute, to the world. And any other great platitudes I want to name? I don't know.
All right.
Solve,
world peace,
and join the adventures.
So endurance racing.
Yes.
For the
when you have 5 kids, you have to be an endurance athlete. It's just how it goes down.
Okay, so you're not running. You're just going from living room to kitchen to bathroom.
Exactly. Okay. What happened was my wife ran a half marathon. I've never told the story. She ran the South Mountain Half Marathon, and I went to cheer her on. And then I just felt like such a schmuck. Like, why am I the guy?
What's weird if I know you pretty much better than anyone, and that's what made you feel like a schmuck?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, of all of the things, it was cheering her on.
Hitting the weights in the law firm and guilting you.
You know what? He's a man. When you take a shirt off, he's incredibly ripped.
It's clearly.
But
if you just have to shave through the hair.
Yeah. Kim ran it, and I was like, I could probably do this. And I did a half, and it was a terrible experience. And Jason's seen the pictures to prove it.
I do. I've never seen nipples like that.
Bloody nipples and chafing.
Yeah. And I hope never to see them again.
Unfortunately, I signed up to do the marathon at the race convention the day before the race. So that meant I had to come back the next year to do the marathon. And I just thought to myself, I did the marathon. It was terrible, but I'm glad I did it. And then a week later, you think, I could probably do a little bit better. And then you sign up for the next one, and then it's like an addiction. And end up having a great time traveling and doing a lot of racing, and then that got into triathlon, and then got into long distance cycling, and now I just do competitive food eating and try to get as many donuts as I can at once. Yeah.
You enjoy Chestnut are right there.
Yeah,
you guys are.
He's my hero.
Yeah.
If I can just.
So have you done any like the crazy ones, like the Badwater or the Western States, or?
I have not.
Okay.
Now you have to be clinically insane to do those ones.
Well, you're just 5 minutes with you. You're not far away, so.
No, my neighbor does the one in Death Valley.
Yeah, the Badwater.
It's so awful, and he comes back, and I just feel bad for him. And he's like, "I'm signed up next year." He's done it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I've read and listened to a lot of the things, whether it's David Goggins or a bunch of the other people out there. I'm like, you people
Born to
are
Run.
nuts. Yeah.
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 Yeah, you know, I really wanted to, but then it turned out that it was like more than a few hours and I just couldn't do it. So
Well, if you need an attorney to get your will and your living trust in place, we'll get off the entitlement.
I've tried to get him to join me.
Yeah.
Right? And
Dude, I sit
he
on the
ran so
sidelines.
fast, I was embarrassed. I couldn't keep up with him.
I just make sure he is well insured.
Yeah.
And sit on the sidelines. And then every once in a while, I will watch his videos of having his back adjusted, his knee worked on, the cupping. That guy, he's like a racehorse. It takes a lot of effort to keep him moving at this point.
No, the only thing I'm missing are hair plugs, and I think I would be okay.
There's hope.
Yeah. Time.
Jason, I don't know how you follow that, but
There is no following that. Listen, Adam was the best business decision I ever made.
That is the ultimate compliment.
And he's become one of my closest friends.
Cool.
We know more about each other. There's a lot of material we both have. It's mutually assured destruction. So
do you mind sharing a little bit about yourself then, though?
Not at all.
Okay.
My parents are British. My older brothers and sisters were all born in England.
Oh, nice.
My parents moved over to the States, and that's where I was born. And we lived in the States for a little while, ultimately moved back to England. So I actually grew up in England.
What was home in England?
London, North London.
North London,
And
okay.
so all of my extended family still live in North
So are
London.
they Arsenal or Spurs fans?
You know, it's split. And it's so funny you mentioned that because my boys, later on, for another reason, we ended up moving back after I've got two sons, and we raised them for a little while in England, and they are both massive Arsenal fans.
Yeah.
Emirates Stadium is their home away from home if we're ever there. And I've got other cousins who are they're Hotspur fanatics.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. But I grew up in England when I was in about fourth grade, came back to the United States. My parents moved here. So actually, I mentioned earlier, a few blocks away from where we sit. And there was an elementary school on Osborne called Paiute. I think it's a community center now. That was my grade school. And then ultimately went to Mojave for middle school and Saguaro High School. And then was fortunate enough to meet my then wife in law school down at U of A after going to undergrad in San Diego. And had two boys and fell into this, but managed to stay in contact with all of my English family. So later on, you know, if we fast forward, my older son, when he was about 10 years old, was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh.
And we were looking all over the world to try and find treatment for his particular type of cancer. And there was a particular drug that the FDA wouldn't approve. So we ended up moving to London. He got his chemotherapy treatment there and his additional treatment, and it saved his life. So when we came back, although he was only about 12, he became the national chairperson and spokesperson for the Right to Try, which was locally endorsed and became legislation here in Arizona that if you have a critical condition, that you have access to drugs as long as they've gone through the first phase of trials.
Holy cow.
And when that became federal legislation, he ultimately was in the White House and was there next to the president for the signing. So it was full circle.
Mic drop. We're done.
Yeah.
But nothing's going to top that.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is.
Okay, what?
He got to go to the Major League Baseball All-Star game
That was his make-a-wish.
on the field and just meet every player possible.
Was it kind of like a Make-A-Wish thing?
That was his make-a-wish.
Okay.
He's a sports fanatic.
That tops President Obama any day.
And what did he bring back for you?
My best friend, Mike Trout, I don't know if you've ever heard of him before, plays center field for Los Angeles Angels. Anyways,
Your best friend.
he went up to him, he got me a signed
My son
program.
got
Nice.
And we haven't met yet, but I'm sure he's receiving all those letters and emails I've been sending him. So someday we'll connect and we'll be like best friends.
That has to be two of the most interesting things. I got an endurance guy, crazy endurance guy, and then I got Change the World Jason over here through his son.
Jason the world, Jason.
By the way, the neighbors
amazing.
who we come across, I think would have a different sense of what I'm
We'll get them
known
on
for
next.
in terms of
Wrong verb.
change. Yeah.
Destroy.
But my son Diego definitely played that role.
That's cool. You have to be proud of that. I mean, to go through,
But you need to meet his kids. I mean, that's tremendous. But his kids are remarkable.
Oh, thanks.
was their paternity test done? Are they biological or not?
Could go either way.
I just want to set the record
But
straight.
they're fantastic. They are fantastic kids. They're adults now, right? One's graduated, one's in college. But the way they,
Aspiring attorneys.
dude, they couldn't do any worse. I mean,
That's very, very true.
anyways.
Part of your succession plan.
They're
I mean, you
great
got
kids.
5, he's got a couple.
It'd be a treat.
Yeah.
Or maybe he'll practice with Wrigley.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We actually get to talk about what the hell you guys do.
Yeah.
There's a thought.
So what does a land use attorney do?
I want to hear your perspective on this because
The audience is like,
The candid
what do they
answer,
do?
or like the sarcastic, jaded answer.
no, honestly, I think I'm going to speak for both of us.
Oh.
We love what we do.
Right.
And it's rare, especially with attorneys. Yeah, there are a lot of attorneys who became attorneys because it was a lifestyle choice, not because they wanted to do something. They thought it was
I'll agree with
lucrative.
that.
Or was the first
But-
job they just got. And
But,
just
but
stuck with
Jason,
it.
I think you could say that about a lot of professions.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. But if you're fortunate enough to find something that you truly enjoy, and I don't think you can enjoy something unless you're good at it. You have to have a skill set. And it turns out, and I say this frankly about being a zoning attorney, you can't be the smartest guy. Clearly, you've met Adam and I. This is not rocket science, but you can't be dumb. You have to be personable because this is, unlike a lot of lawyer jobs, we're dealing with the public. It is a lot more lobbying, and you have to be able to be just as comfortable in a room full of people, in a community and surprise, talking about why they need a new Target store or 500 more apartments. Yet you have to be able to sit down with the mayor and the council members and be able to speak their language and understand what's important to them, because what's important to them may not be what's important to the community members that you just met. And those two things may have no relation to what your client cares
Right.
about. So it's your job to make all three of those circles overlap, if we're talking in Venn diagrams,
Yeah.
and find that sweet spot.
And when you drive anywhere in the valley, you go to your house, the shopping center, this office here, there was a story behind it. There was dirt before it was development. And what we do is we help people, developers, business owners, property owners go through that process with the city. And what Jason just described are the components that come into making that recipe, right? Sometimes it's neighbors who are against you. Sometimes it's election season. There's politicians who have different goals and aspirations. Sometimes you have a client that just has a difficult idea of what to do with the property. But we help people build Arizona one project at a time through the zoning entitlement process. And so when you ask, like, tell us what you do, I sort of joke, but sometimes people say you're like the destroyers of the neighborhood. It's not that at all.
I like to say we bring neighbors together.
Yeah, together. And collectively, they just
Fight
burn us in effigy. But those same neighbors are the ones who are shopping at the places that we build, right?
Yeah.
They're the ones who are enrolling their kids in the schools that are built because of our subdivisions. They're the ones who are going to the office because of the place that we've entitled. And so
They used to.
it is a treat to drive down the street and point out to a building to your kids and say, Dad had a role in that.
Right.
And
Let me
or
tell you the
go to a
story
restaurant.
behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, places that you like to go frequent, for dining or drinks, like you know the story because you created those spaces together with that developer.
That's often true.
So it puts a greater meaning in, like, we're building a community just in a different way.
So I'm going to put on my contractor hat and ask you a question that I've never thought about before until you just described it. And I've sat on, before I moved to Arizona, I was in the Midwest and I was on a P&Z board. And
Okay, he speaks our
He
language.
gets it. Yeah.
the thing that it just hit me are all the paradigms out there just stuck and broken? Again, you guys aren't the bad guys per se, but if you're bringing it all together, is so much of the problem upstream that just nothing has ever changed at the LUG level, and LUG is local unit of government. For those of you that don't know that acronym, is that where the biggest encumbrances lie, guys?
It's a multifaceted
Okay.
problem. It really is. And what you're talking about,
I guess what I'm asking, Jason,
a
is
component.
peel that onion back so the audience can hear and say, why do you guys even exist? Like, what? In other words, your whole profession, is it because again, everything was broken before? No one saw how change has to take place for planning and zoning. I'm trying to have you have a connection with the audience of like, why does this paradigm even exist?
I think what we do in many instances is unique to Arizona.
Okay.
In that in other jurisdictions, oftentimes it's the civil engineer, it's the architect playing the role that Adam and I play, which is to introduce a project, to maybe lobby on behalf of the project, to work with the neighborhood and do that outreach. In Arizona, it has become the territory of the land use attorney. And that's true in some other places.
Okay.
But we've got a very pure land use practice, whereas in California, you may do some land use, but you're really a litigator because you're also doing CERCLA stuff and the environmental aspects of it. For us, we're fortunate that there was a series of zoning attorneys dating back a generation or so, some of whom are still practicing, who really set this model up. And so to answer your other question about is it broken and at what level, people are resistant to change. And that's not just zoning and planning, and it's everything.
Right.
Change is difficult. And in a city like this metropolitan area and in a state like Arizona, change occurs every day. You know, if for the years I've been practicing, and I joined the bar in 1994. So I have now...
That's the legal bar, not the liquor bar for all of you listening.
That was last night. Yeah. But Arizona has been the fastest growing state multiple of those years. Phoenix has been the fastest growing city multiple times during that time frame. Maricopa County has been the fastest growing county multiple times. So I don't even have to be good at what I do to make a living doing this. It happens to be I'm doing the right thing at the right time, but we happen, fortunately, to be the best at what we do.
Nice.
So that it's not just local government, it's not just neighborhoods, it's not just the internet. It is a series of items that have come together to make development in an area like Maricopa County and Arizona, because we do work all over the state, more challenging. People fighting change, internet gossip, political divisions like we've never seen before. So we're at...
Well, if you think about it, for most people, the only thing that matters most to them is their abode, right? That's probably, for them, their largest kind of asset and retirement possibly. And so when anything's happening in that area around their residence, you know, their spidey sense tingles, right?
Yeah.
And cities are desirous to create new development, right? Attract jobs, provide amenities for their residents, provide homes for people to live. And then sometimes those conflict with each other. But in most cases, it's celebrated. I mean, the reality is we're a growth state. We're a private property rights state. We're a pro-development state. And a lot of our cities and councils are that way too. But there's processes that have to go through. Someone has to drop a plan to conform to some zoning ordinance regulation. As much as we change zoning, most time we're just helping clients navigate the intricacies of the code and the quirks and the corners and the interpretation letters and getting inspections waived and those kind of things. But at the end of the day...
I like how he just slips that in, you know, and getting inspections waived. And
expedited.
Yeah, exactly.
Permitted.
Bribing officials. You know, little things like that developers need.
We don't bribe them, Jason.
No.
We just kindly give brown paper bags full of money.
It's incentivization.
But at the end of the day, I mean, we all experience growth, right? And it's how it's done. Is it done in a manner that is properly, that you can endorse and support? And the politicians and local planning officials, they want to see that happen too. And we just get to be at the front end of it, the tip of the spear. As we complete our process, there's so much construction document that has to be done, and then permit review, revisions, resubmittals, finally get building permits before you do anything. That's 1 to 2 years after we're done with the job. And so we are the very, very front end of it. And then finally we get to see you or other people build what we helped create. And eventually we'll be the ones spending our dollars in those same places.
How much time or what's your percentage of evenings spent at city halls?
Dude, it's like 4 or 5 nights a week.
I can say, in all honesty, especially now we're incredibly busy, I can't plan anything. My only availability where I can count on buying a ticket to an event that I want to go to or committing to dinner with friends is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, I was going to say, because
there comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Blue Wave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Blue Wave to get it done right the first time.
So for all of you listening and hearing this blissful existence between these two guys, they give up a hell of a lot of evenings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not all pleasant either. I mean,
Well,
sometimes you think, is my car going to still be in the parking lot?
Oh, the
Will there be
car's
air in my
there.
tires?
All right. So you teed that one up, Adam. Give us some, come on, give us some stories. You don't have to mention, of course, you can't mention names,
Yeah.
but give us some crazy.
can.
Give us some crazy. Give us some. Let's start with the crazy crap, and then let's end with and then let's transition.
I'm curious.
Then let's change to a really cool like awesome
story.
feel good story. So start with the crazy
We
crap.
have plenty, but our meetings might be in a local HOA or neighborhood meeting. It
Okay.
might be planning commission, city council, and we have endless stories. In fact, we could ruin your podcast talking about them
No.
forever. But
This is what people want to listen to. So go for it.
I'll just remember this time when I was presenting a case in East Mesa, doing some townhomes,
Okay.
and next to houses that were built probably 50 years prior. And it wasn't a particularly nice area, but for these people, it was probably the most sacred ground, for them. And for any event, we presented in this little small neighborhood meeting in a library room. At the back of the room was this man, and I could tell he was just a little off, but just kind of waiting in the back. And when you see this,
Like
people,
Jason off or really
Yeah.
off?
no, like,
Not that bad.
yeah, like he kept rocking back and forth, and he had on rain boots, but it was like summertime. Anyways, I just sense like something's not going to go well, and where is the exit? Well, you have these easels with boards at the front of the room, and I'm standing by them, and he kind of parts the crowd like Moses parts the Red Sea and pushes everybody aside, and he looks like Doc Brown from Back to the Future. And I'm like, what? This guy's just crazy enough to do something like
I mean, he walked up in the middle of
like
the.
parted everybody, get out of my way. Like just frazzled white hair everywhere. And he said some kind of rude remark about me and being an attorney. And I stopped my presentation, said, "What did you say?" And he said, "You heard me." And I said, "Well, I only heard you mumble, but what did you say?" And he gets in my face and goes, "Take a swing at me, bro." And I'm like, this guy's like 7 years old. And my thought was, I want to take a swing at you so bad.
Adam's like, this could be the first fight I win.
Yeah. This is the end of my career. Can I go back to Mike and Jason and say, hey, good news, I'm going to win the case. Bad news, I've got a bar complaint and probably like an assault charge. So I restrained somebody, the neighbors who were against my case turned on him. And it was the funniest moment because his like manic episode rallied the neighbors to like us. And these same people who were opposed kind of empathized with who we were and began the ability to start kind of find commonality, build bridges. It took some while to get there, but those same people who were in the room fighting us became our supporters. And that guy, they all
That guy,
rallied
by the
against him.
way, we've now used him in 7 other cases. It works like a charm. He's $20 an hour.
I was gonna say, what's the retainer?
Yeah, it's $20 an hour. He pretends to start a fight. The neighbors then jump on our side to protect us, and we make friends.
Yeah.
Sounds like the panhandler that's at the corner, and then you go see him, and he jumps in his $85,000 sports car.
Exactly.
You've had a few of those though, right?
And Adam said correctly, we could fill this podcast with just crazy stories, but a couple that jump to mind. One, I walked into a neighborhood meeting that I knew was going to be problematic. It involved a developer based out of New York who wanted to build a taller building than the buildings around him. He later ran and became president, but we were representing him long before that, and he was doing something in the 24th and Camelback area. So we knew there was going to be opposition.
Yeah.
They interviewed, the Trump organization interviewed every land use attorney. For whatever reason, they thought we were young and dumb enough to go do this and fight this fight. But I walked into the building, and there were officers on either side of the front entrance. And I thought, it's a little overboard. I'm sure it won't be that bad.
It's not like he's gonna be president or anything.
I said, guys, I don't want to walk in with you because they offered, do you want us to bring you to the stage? I said, no, God, don't be silly. I opened the door. I couldn't there were so many people angry and screaming at me within 17 inches of the door that I literally couldn't get to the podium.
Oh my gosh.
They had to create a path. This was so we could start the neighborhood meeting. I mean,
It's always bad when the crowd is there before you even arrive. And
Yes.
you arrive 30 minutes early to set up the room.
It was like Woodstock in there of rich people from 24th and Camelback. So that was crazy. I've had the electricity cut in the middle of a neighborhood meeting. So the whole building just went dark so they could try and stop us.
He didn't have it cut.
No,
It just happened. Just pure coincidence.
Yeah, thanks for the wink there, Adam.
Just craziness.
But
honestly,
we've seen
every
it all.
tires slashed, threats. I've had shit thrown
We've
at
seen
us.
somebody
It has been-
protest at a public hearing with a musical instrument, a blow organ.
A blow organ.
A
That's
blow
what it was
organ.
called. A handheld piano. The weirdest.
mean, like-
weird. It was Sedona.
It was a protest
though.
song.
It was Sedona. They
Okay.
played a protest song. That was entertaining.
Wasn't our case, but it just happened to be on the same agenda. And
Oh.
we've seen it all.
I like how
and
you got that
we'll-
caveat in there.
Yeah, and we'll still be surprised, but those stories are the things that he and I laugh about. Like,
Yeah.
we bond on the most miserable night over cases, then we'll laugh about some of the most absurd things that happen. And-
You almost have to.
I call Adam on my way home from here, and he's like, buddy, you're the only person on earth who will understand this. Let me tell you what happened tonight, and talk me off the ledge because I'm
And you're
about to
laughing at him
retire.
in 5 seconds.
Yes.
And then it just brings you back down.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm crying, he's laughing. It's comforting.
But what's ironic is Adam and I become the face of the development. And so if you're going to be hated, it's easy to hate lawyers on the best of days, but we're really the face of these developments that are coming in. So rather than hating some LLC that has a contractor's license or the developer it's way easier just to hate Adam and I.
Yeah.
Just
It's easier
just
to hate him
monetize
than it
that.
is me. I think I'm more liked.
Oh, you're charming.
But yes, they hate us all.
All right, so what are some really cool feel-good stories of where you figured that nothing would... I mean, you almost kind of gave it, but just more of that symbiotic, like, oh...
Can I tell you your project at 7th and Missouri for that group that helped children? I forget the name of it. It's like a school and it's therapy. Yeah,
Therapy.
where they just a small
It
small
impacted me
business
so much.
that you can't remember
Yeah,
the name.
A to Z kids therapy.
He's shedding a tear right now.
It-
So.
just a small one.
It's in my gang tattoo.
Tattooed. But that's an example, and you can tell the story. It's just a small business focused on kids with special needs that couldn't navigate their way through City Hall. And City Hall isn't built, they don't have special empathy just because you're working with at-risk kids or special needs kids. And they called Adam out of desperation and said, we got to open. We're a school. Can
Well,
you
you
help
could
us
appreciate
out?
the story. It was an existing building that they were just going to move in and occupy. But once you change the use from what it was before to a therapy clinic, a whole new set of codes jump in.
We see that all the
Do you
time.
have sprinklers? Do you have access panels? I mean, what's the route of circulation for fire? I mean, just so much. And this is just a nonprofit who's trying to do something good. And they didn't need zoning. They already had the zoning. They just needed help navigating City Hall. But, we represent big corporations and great development who do great things and probably make a lot of money. But it's sometimes those little small ones off, Boys and Girls Club that you've been a part of, or just the small business owner who's like, I just want to make sure I can cover my rent this month and I sell pies. And here's my drama. Like, those aren't the ones that pay our bills, but those are the ones that kind of give you the greatest satisfaction. And we help people all across the state essentially achieve their dreams. We just do it in different ways for different people. And sometimes we don't know what it's going to take. We just know we can figure it out.
Well, Joy Bus Diner, I don't know if it's a local restaurant, and it's actually the funding arm for the Joy Bus organization. And Joy Bus brings meals to cancer victims. And I was connected, friend of a friend. They were trying to open a new location, and they reached out, and I learned more about Jennifer and what she does, read their mission. Obviously, I'm familiar with that world because of what I went through with my son, and we ended up working with them for a year to get them, just again, not earth-shattering entitlements, but parking variances and some easements and some building plan reviews and things that were essential in order for the business to move
But you know what's funny is like the people who we represent when we deliver like a big win, maybe the toughest case we've ever had, and the client's like, yeah, well, that's what I pay you for. And then you have someone like Jennifer or the small business owner who their life's in peril depending on how the outcome goes, and the gratitude on their face and
So true.
and how they appreciate what you do. And honestly, you wish all were that way, but it does make you feel good enough. And that's what it comes back to why we do what we do. I mean, at the end of the day, we get to have a hand in building the communities that we live in. And that is as much the master plan shopping center as it is the local mom and pop shop. And all of them deserve the chance to succeed and thrive. And we just help people get through that process.
Let's switch back to some technical stuff. How, if you had to describe it with, with the massive growth that the Valley's had, do you see that more of your involvement is in repurposed land or rezoning versus new, just not brownfield, but greenfield sites out in the middle of the desert? What's the trend?
You hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
The first half of my practice was doing massive master plans on the edge of the city. Right. Anthem, the Sun City West, Sun City Grand, all of those things that were the first neighborhoods in Surprise, and then doing master plans in Tonopah out by Palo Verde. I mean, when you have a neighborhood meeting and one of the things that you're discussing is the evacuation route,
nuclear.
If there's a meltdown, you realize, I've come a little far west. But now, sort of post 2008 developments really did take a look at the center of the city and say, wait a second, we can either extend infrastructure 17 miles and build roads and build water and sewer, or we can take a look at 3 acres in the middle of the city and start looking at density and using existing infrastructure. It's better from an environmental standpoint. It's smarter from a transportation standpoint. And with the city growing the way we're growing, it provides a different type of housing. So,
but those are the hardest ones to get approved.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can zone something out in Tonopah and no one's around. Who cares?
Yeah.
You do it at Central Avenue and
Indian School,
and you have a whole world of neighbors that all have a different opinion on what should be done with the land. Build the park. Parks don't make any money.
No.
Or
they're so unaccustomed to having activity around them that I'm going through that right now on Central Avenue, a project which will be mixed use, high intensity, density, height, all of the things that you should have on 2 arterials and the light rail. But there are neighborhoods that were built in the 40s and 50s who see, no, I need the sidewalks rolled up at night. That's not what I'm looking for. I'd love to be in the center of the city from 9 to 5 when I need to go anywhere. And after 5, I'd like it to be really quiet and pretend I live in Queen Creek. And that's a challenge.
Yeah.
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Blue Wave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Blue Wave to get it done right the first time.
So you guys teed up one that's been of interest, not only to me, but I think, different topics on this podcast before. Let me try to paint a picture and get your feedback. So let's take that redevelopment, fighting or supporting gentrification in certain areas, that kind of thing. I think economically it's been proven that the redevelopment makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
And having all the mixture that you said, you need parks to balance this. And, everything can't just be a pro forma. You have to have some of the soft skills into that matrix. Having said all that, do you guys find yourselves educating? You've already talked about the lobbying piece, Jason, but do you also find yourselves educating those that are sitting on the other side of the aisle, meaning the city planners and some of those P&Z folks of, hey, this is going to be good for you guys long term? Do you find yourselves there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for the most part, the cities appoint planning commissioners that are generally pro-development. They just want it done right.
Right.
And planning professional staff obviously want to see
usually
things
staff
succeed.
recommendation as it's
Right.
done. Or,
Unless you're in certain, I held myself back. You'd be proud of me. It's
Actually,
restraint.
that's
really good.
amazing.
he damn near
Look at
tripped.
you.
For those of you just listening, I think I saw him fall forward.
Yeah. I
He was about to eviscerate a jurisdiction.
I thought we're going to have to go over there and give him the Heimlich for a second. but-
oh man, I could always see like the letter from the mayor and the planning manager.
So are there still a lot of
Yeah.
municipalities
I
that
think
you
for the
don't
most-
have oversight when you're presenting?
oversight? What do you mean?
Well, like that staff, how like if you guys are on let's take a P&Z meeting, you're representing an owner, and then here's the call it the planning and zoning, the commissioners. But they always look to
Staff
usually
member.
an outside staff member. Usually maybe it's like a civil engineer that's hired, or it might be an on.
No.
Most of the time for us, it's professional staff that's hired by the jurisdiction.
Thank you.
But they are giving a recommendation. And it varies. First of all, you have to remember the Valley's 20 different jurisdictions.
Correct.
They're all fighting for the same planners and experience. So they'll steal from each other. And the reality is
You guys used to see them, and
We did.
And
when I say them, yeah,
it's the same people, right?
Yeah.
They go from city to city. But we also feel very strongly that it makes our practice better.
right.
And it makes our practice more beneficial to the end user, our developers, if we hire those same city planners who know those cities, who understand what
Makes
the
sense.
cities are looking for. So we've been fortunate that our staff, in addition to the lawyers, are planners, all of whom we've taken from the jurisdictions where we work. And usually it's because we had such a great experience working with them that we made them offers. Now, the downside of that is sometimes we then go to the planning managers and planning directors and go, God, why can't you move faster? And they go, because you've stolen all of our best employees.
There you go,
so
dickhead.
quit bitching. Exactly. Listen, asshole, you've taken our guys. That does help us, but you're right.
Okay.
That's a huge function of what we're doing. We have to work with staff to get their recommendation of
Yeah.
approval. We have to work with the neighborhoods to get them on board, to make whatever concessions are necessary, to make it palatable so we get that neighborhood support.
Is the
And
timing, Jason, getting worse or better? Is it stagnated?
No, it's always getting longer.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, cities rarely reduce regulations. They're almost always adding new regulations, and they're adding additional public outreach processes. So all those things just make the process longer, which make the development costlier, which makes it less affordable.
Right.
And I think that's the issue that we're constantly butting up against here in Arizona, is we have a tremendous demand and need for more housing, and we don't have enough workforce or housing that's attainable for people.
Yeah.
And the reality
Which is a consistent theme on this
Yes.
show. I mean,
Yes.
The city-
every guest we have on, we talk about workforce. And yes, there's a million other things out there, but primarily it's workforce.
and as long as you continue to add more regulations and greater public outreach and more discretionary subjective
So don't
approval on
Californicate
design,
our Arizona.
I mean,
precisely.
it just makes it more costly. And
Yeah.
then people wonder, well, my kids can't live here. Well, it's because the city has, enabled this process or created this process. And I think that's why a lot of people hire us, is because we deal with this process day in and day out, and we help navigate through the minefield to make that process go a little faster.
Okay, Adam. I got through about 8th grade math. So as I've been listening to you guys, I'm hearing a couple things, and I need you to help bridge the gap.
Sure.
Your world's getting more complex, getting longer. You need more of you. And so where's the next generation of Adam and Jason coming from?
We've got them working for us. In all honesty,
No, but
we've
okay.
got
So it's
young
one thing to
workers.
poach. It's one thing to poach the people that came through the planning type thing. But let's go back to the legal side. Is it something that in the law schools is being promoted?
I mentioned this earlier, and I referenced it, and I truly believe it. You have to have the right personality for this. Just because you're top of the class may make you actually less likely to be successful in our
Agree with that.
position. And you have to have this persona that allows you to talk to a lot of different people in a variety of situations.
We tell this story, but law school got us a law degree and gave us a chance to enter this practice.
Right.
But what made us, I think, good at what we do wasn't the skills or the class or the cases that we learned in law school.
I totally agree.
It's the soft skills, right? I mean, what did you do?
I always say I learned more about my business by selling shirts and ties at Nordstrom than I ever
Bingo.
did at law school.
And I sold pest control door to door for
you
2 summers.
You do need the mix, just like any company. Like you need the mix. You need
Yes.
that diversity of the background.
Yeah.
You can. There's an endless number of people who reach out to us.
Got it.
Who see what we do, and it's like a glamour thing. I want to do what you do, and I'm at this law firm or I'm in this year of school. But we need to know how well can you interact with people who hate you and turn them into your friends by the end of the hour.
Right.
Can you call up a politician, cold call, and convince them to meet with you? And those are skill sets that work well for Jason and I in our practice. And I'm sure they translate well into other areas, but in many ways, every site has a story. And we're storytellers, and our job is to help the public
And
see
salesmen.
and to see the benefit of the story and the project. And so what does the next generation look like? I hope there's not many people because I want to make income and still work. I don't want to have a lot of competition. But truthfully, there's peer groups that we respect.
The Monopoly by Adam.
Yeah. But we do have some rising stars in our group, and I think Jason and I have said this before, but their success is our success. So we want the guys that work with us and the team that we have to really thrive and be the best, because if they're great, then we'll be great.
All right. We're at that kind of weird, not the weird spot, but just that spot in the podcast.
We started at the weird spot.
You mean the hugs before anyone got here? No.
It was awkward.
What haven't I asked you? What topics do we want to? What do you want to share with the audience before we get into some fun stuff?
Where's this going? We're at a place where every day, especially lately, we've heard about the heat. Are people going to still march to Arizona? This is the, it's Hades. You can't live here. It's unsustainable. You've got no water. We heard, that was 2 months ago. That's all we talked about.
We defunct that on this all the time.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, and then you've got labor shortages, and you've got, what's going on with the office market. So the question, what's next? What do we have? What does Arizona look like in 10, 20, 30, 40 years? And that's what's exciting about what we do. It's great for us to be able to be working on projects that will come to fruition over that lifetime.
Well, to me, it's those that solve those problems. They monetize it. They're capitalists, and the cycle keeps going, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But we do it one step further. We actually create the problems, so then we can solve the problems.
Oh, you're the fireman syndrome.
Exactly. We light the fire.
Jason, light it.
Yeah. No, and speed has become so important, especially with the price of money, as you know.
Oh, the capitals right now, anybody that, I could go on for hours about that.
So coming to us early on in the process, we can do two things. One, we can lay out the strategy and tell you if there's light at the end of the tunnel. And this is, the fact of the matter is we turn down 2 cases for every case we take.
Really?
At least. Because it doesn't do us any good taking a case unless we can see a victory. And the client's not going to be happy if we're practicing on their money. So unless I can see it clear, unless we can convince ourselves, we're useless convincing others. So it has to be a good case. And then the second part of what we do is save money by saving time. We're expediting the permits. We're able to keep their applications at the top of the pile, because if they can shave off 90 days over a year-long process, that's money.
Here's one, again, just for the edification of the audience. Typically, you representing somebody, something, you're really not sitting across from another land use or zoning attorney, correct?
No, that's why we love what we do.
Right, because this isn't litigation.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the person who will take that case against us doesn't have a thriving career. If that's the type of work he has to take.
Bingo.
Yeah. And I just
So I guess what I'm trying to go at him is, even as the challenges that you're getting, the upside is just so much greater,
Yes.
right?
all we are doing is adding
That's why you get
value.
out of bed every morning and give up your
Absolutely.
evenings. And why Jason can only meet people on Friday and Saturdays.
So, well, and I have no friends.
I was just gonna say.
That's not a huge sacrifice.
I'll tell you,
And his gregarious attitude.
early in the
that, you know-
spring, I actually did a neighbor meeting on a Saturday, 4 p.m. at a HOA spring fling. So we don't even get Saturdays sometimes. It's
Yeah.
Jason knows that we'll do anything to get a vote.
Yeah.
It's true.
I mean, within legal
Yeah.
boundaries, of course. But
Mostly.
I mean,
He's holding up his air quotes and his asterisks right now.
we joke about some of the how far we have gone to get to know people,
Making friends.
become friends.
It's
to,
no
to earn
different
their
than
trust and support.
a good salesman, right?
Yeah.
They will go, they'll learn your daughter's name. They'll learn what's important to you. It's establishing relationships. So sometimes you have to do things to establish relationships which they didn't teach you in law school.
Hardly. If anything, it was the opposite.
We're not ashamed
Exactly.
of anything, but only a couple of things. But
Which we won't. We won't put that
We
on
won't
there.
cover it today.
You guys got anything else?
No, you got
No?
the best of us. What have you got?
I just thank you for your time.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
thank
fun.
you.
It was fun. You guys
It's
were
fun to be
engaging.
on this side of the table.
Yeah, I
we host
know.
a podcast too, and so we're usually the interviewers.
Yeah.
And
It's
is
actually
fun to be on
more,
this side of the
it's
table.
stressful. I'd rather be on the other side. I'd rather be firing
Really?
those questions.
Thanks, Jason and Adam, for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Again, if anyone wants to reach out to them, don't call the Withey part. Just call the Morris Baugh part of the
Exactly.
firm. If they don't answer for 4 weeks or something, don't worry. They're giving up their evenings to get something passed.
Or we've been kidnapped by a neighborhood group.
yeah, or,
Yes.
exactly. Or being held for ransom
Yeah, exactly.
by Doc Brown.
Don't take a swing.
Thank
with
you
me, bro.
so much.
Thanks,
Sugar.
guys, for being on today.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
You've been listening to the Mac and Blue Show, brought to you by Blue Wave General Contracting. Be sure to subscribe to the Mac and Blue podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Follow JJ Levensky on LinkedIn and Instagram. Tune in every Monday